How you visually get into a scene and out of a scene is an important consideration for a filmmaker and editor. The traditional method of opening a scene goes as follows: a long shot, then a medium shot, then a close-up. And often then it's a simple pattern of moving back and forth between close-ups and medium shots as the scene plays out. There will also be occasional cuts back to a long shot in order to re-establish the geography and context of the scene. However, this is only one of a wide variety of ways that you can set a scene when it comes to your edit. There are numerous ways that you can set a scene, and, as always, it depends on what the demands of the scene are and how you as an editor and director want it to play for the audience. Let's examine two options: the more traditional method and an alternative method. In the traditional method, you'd begin with a long shot to establish the location and set the overall context for the scene. You'd then move on to a pattern of shots that bring us closer into the character, such as these. And then you'd finally rest on a close-up. As the scene plays out, you'd move back to a selection of medium shots and occasional long shots to re-establish the scene's geography. And when the character moves into the dark room at the end of the corridor, a moment of tension, we end on a close-up. This approach of starting on a long shot, then moving to a medium shot and then a close-up is an effective one, and has served many filmmakers for around about a century now. Let's explore an alternative. You could start with a close-up of the keys on the keyboard and show nothing else for a while. And then, as the scene plays out, pull back further to reveal the character, what is happening, and the overall context for the scene. Then, when he walks down the corridor and enters the dark room at the end, you could cut at that point to the shots of the stairs, and then the exterior location shot. This approach would be slightly more claustrophobic, as we don't really get where we are and the context for the scene immediately. Instead, we're thrown right into the character and what happens to them with close-ups and medium shots. At the end, the audience might feel a sense of bleakness and desperation as we slowly move back down the stairs, away from whatever was in the room and back outside. As an audience, we're moving further away from what has happened to him. However, in the first version, the scene ends with us, the audience, still on the floor with him. Although the footage is the same in both cases, the editing approaches are profoundly different. The first approach favours context and setting first, and then moves on to character and what happens to them. The second approach favours character and drama first, and provides context later on. What these two examples should lead you to understand is that the editor is as equally important as the director, for the choices that they make will have a major impact on how a scene plays out to the audience. This is why so many filmmakers today are very close and protective of the editing process. As always, when you're developing your editing skills, it comes down to understanding your material and understanding how you want the audience to respond to the scene in question. For assessment purposes, film a short scene using a good variety of shot types. Then create two different methods of setting the scene, like the ones we examined earlier. Please keep the footage for later assessment purposes.